Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to a special edition of USC Postgame Live, our Heisman Trophy edition. There's no game tonight for the Trojans, but what a night. What an historic night as USC has its 8th Heisman Trophy winner announced. Caleb Williams is your Heisman Trophy winner, or as they've been saying out throughout social media the past few weeks, the Book of Trojans, 813. What a wonderful night. Now, for those of you who are, new to being Trojan fans, Caleb Williams is stepping in some pretty amazing footsteps. He is our 8th Heisman Trophy winner, as they've discussed extensively tonight, after Mike Garrett, who was there tonight, former USC athletic director, O.J. Simpson, it is what it is, Charlie White, Marcus Allen, Matt Leinart, Reggie Bush, Carson Palmer, and now Caleb Williams. What an amazing, amazing, exciting night. Well, guys, we're going to want to hear from you in just a few minutes. So we're going to be bringing on folks to chat here on our post-game live show. But just a reminder, a couple of guidelines for our chat tonight and for our call-ins. Again, we're here to be interesting, constructive, add value. We sort of joke, don't be a jerk. No personal attacks on guests, callers, or other chatters. No incessant whining and trolling, and absolutely no derogatory or discriminatory nonsense. And we're going to take it one step further tonight. These 4 young men are amazing athletes. They're good, great students. They're strong leaders in their team. And all 4 finalists on the Heisman Trophy tonight were absolutely great folks, and we are proud of them all as college football fans. So we're going to extend our privileges of saying be respectful to guests, to also say, be respectful to all 4 of the Heisman Trophy finalists who are outstanding young men and outstanding leaders. And again, this is our USC postgame live show, but we are proud of all 4 of them. Tim and LBC. USC just got its 8th Heisman Trophy. How are you guys feeling tonight?
Feeling great. I went it was a long time ago, but when Matt Leinart won his Heisman Trophy, I was in England listening on internet radio. Back then, there was very few streaming. And I just remember excitement and yelling in the house in the middle of the night with just a great start to a great run that we had at USC. And I couldn't be happier. I obviously, and clearly the voting shows it, that the right guy did win. There were some great candidates up there with him, but in the end, just the overall season he had, the way he lifted his team, and just his ability as a quarterback to change a game is why he's going home with the hardware.
What a great night. Congrats to the 4 finalists, and congrats to Caleb and the USC. It reminded me a lot of 2002. It was great to see Carson Palmer there because Carson Palmer had a remarkable run, beating UCLA and Notre Dame back-to-back, and that really pushed him over the top. And similarly, you had Caleb Williams having an outstanding game against UCLA and Notre Dame, both ranked teams. And although the Trojans did lose to Utah, credit to Utah for being Pac-12 champions, he had an epic night, and we all saw it. And he would not come out. He was injured. 3 touchdowns, 360 odd passing yards. What a blessing he is. Just an elite athlete, and the fact that we're going to have him for 1 more year is fantastic.
It's really exciting. Hey guys, let's just take a look. This is, we're so excited for Caleb and also for the other 3 finalists who are phenomenal guys, great leaders. And by the way, if you guys haven't, for anybody who's not a Max Duggan fan, and I love Max Duggan, he's the Cinderella, he's amazing. Watch him on Unnecessary Roughness. Just go toe to toe with Brandon Walker and take Brandon Walker to school. It's a great interview. Guys, let me hide the comments for just a sec. This is pretty amazing. This is as they've said. Hold on, Tim, please don't put comments up for just a sec. This is USC's 8th Heisman. There was a 4-way, as Chris Fowler said, there was a 4-way tie with 7 Heismans awarded. The one has a little debatable controversy with it, but it was one. So this is USC's 8th Heisman one, and it puts us at number 1 in the whole country. This is a pretty wild list. What do you guys think?
Well, I thought it was pretty. We all know as USC fans, as Trojans, that, and even college football fans, if you saw Reggie Bush, and in light of what's happening now with the changes in college football with the NIL and the transfer portal, I thought it was very telling, surprising that Chris Fowler there at the ceremony said on a couple of occasions that it's the 8th USC Heisman Trophy. So I think it's about time. I think things are going to happen, and they're going to restore the Heisman to Reggie Bush, and rightly so. And Tony, I think you had an incredible edit that we saw earlier. They're going to make room for number 8 and number 13 at the peristyle, retiring those jerseys. I think it's just a matter of time.
Yeah, I think Bone's already laying the foundation for that. That's going to be coming back in due time. Most media.
Yeah, I think number 5 and number 13 will be probably both there. This is my prediction on what the peristyle will look like next fall. And as JB said, JB here points out really well. He says, Fowler saying number 8, and he said 3 times tonight, I believe, was not a mistake.
No, it's not. It's not.
No,
you're not going to do that at the Heisman ceremony.
No, they don't make that mistake. No. So, but again, as we've said, it was 1. So when we're talking about Heisman's 1, it was 1. So it's really not a debatable issue. But how great for Caleb, and also tell me, did you guys really? And I like I said, I've seen the stuff with Max Duggan. I think he's awesome. I just really couldn't get over all 4 of these guys. Just are phenomenal guys, and it's been fun watching the videos and the pictures and stuff of them in New York together this week, like hanging out and having fun. And we've heard from Yogi, we've heard from other people that they were just it was just a really neat dynamic with the 4 of them.
I thought there was a great message that Caleb expressed. I think the message that Stetson Bennett, his journey, Max, CJ, these guys had a dream, and they never gave up. They put the work in, especially Stetson Bennett. He was told so many times. He could have quit so many times. And anybody who is successful in any walk of life, it doesn't have to be sports, but sports does lay a foundation. You are going to be told no, and you're not good enough. And you can believe people, you can believe the haters, and you can quit. But there's a dog in everybody, and everybody has to find their time, because it's easy to hate. People hate all the time. But if you have a belief and you have a vision, you keep working, and you'll be successful. And that is a great message for everybody. And with that,
how cool was that? He arranged for the entire offensive line to be there tonight.
Yeah, that's never been done before, but now in the era of NIL, it was courtesy of Caleb, and fantastic. The 8 guys there, because they basically blocked for him. It's a brotherhood, and he helped change the culture with Lincoln Riley's vision, Caleb's vision, and there's no way it doesn't happen without hard work and the offensive line. The offensive line made it happen. And I'm ready to celebrate, guys. I've got the beer.
You have the official beer, don't you? Or our show's official beer.
So, you know what? It might be Miller time later with Miller Moss. We don't know about Caleb's injury. But tonight, we're arrogant bastards once again. You got to love it, Trojans. Fight on.
Fight on, LBC. Well, guys, with that, we want to hear from you guys. We want to hear what you guys think about Caleb Williams and Heisman number 8 tonight. So there's a couple hundred of you guys right now watching. We're live on 2 different channels, which is really exciting. Thank you to Mark Rogers for letting us have our special post-game edition tonight. We didn't have a game, but we had something arguably more exciting. So with that, let's put we'll put the link in the chat real quick, and we'd love to have you guys call in and fill us in. And Mark points out, absolutely. I thought that was really cool, and I thought it was great. He talked about oh, I think I froze. Am I back?
You're back.
Okay, sorry about that. LBC, looking back on this, you mentioned the Carson Palmer thing. Did you see the articles from Katie Ryan today talking about their strategy for marketing this Heisman? What they actually took the Carson Palmer model.
I thought it was brilliant, and many times success in life is about timing and executing on that timing. And I thought their media strategy for Caleb was perfect, and they knew our schedule was backloaded, and I'm sure it's obvious. They looked at the Carson Palmer 20 years ago, and if you remember, he kind of came out of nowhere, and Carson had the magic against UCLA. They beat him 27-0, and then they backed it up with a national TV game at the Coliseum versus Notre Dame. I believe he threw for 4 touchdowns and over 400 yards in that game, and that was at the time just a remarkable accomplishment. Caleb took a little different route, right? He had an outstanding game against UCLA at the Rose Bowl, and then he used his legs against Notre Dame. We had 1 touchdown. He had 3 rushing touchdowns, but it was pretty remarkable. He was in full control. I think Chris Fowler mentioned it was like a video game, and he was just joysticking it out there. So I thought it was a spectacular plan, and that's one of the reasons why Caleb decided to come to USC, is that many Heismans here before. It's a proven opportunity, and you play schools like Notre Dame every year, you're going to have a platform. If you're good enough, you're going to get recognized. There aren't any teams out there that play back to back at the end of the year rivals. Just doesn't happen. But if you want to face the challenge, there's an opportunity there. And Caleb took advantage of that opportunity and beat a ranked UCLA and Notre Dame team on national TV back to back when it counts the most.
And as much as we complained about the problems with the schedule, that I think kind of made it possible. That set the stage, and it set a stage that no one else had.
And you think about it, Caleb was getting ready to play for Oklahoma in the Alamo Bowl versus Oregon last year. He wasn't even in the transfer portal. And for him, who I believe he came in January, and for all the changes that were made to this team to go from 4-8 to 11-2 is just remarkable in itself. And it doesn't happen without Lincoln Riley and Caleb Williams, and Caleb executing Lincoln Riley's vision and really being a leader in spring camp, in summer workouts, in fall camp. And you saw that. You saw that with the offensive lineman that came. And we had John Jackson, former wide receiver for USC, whose son's on the team. He spoke to us 2 weeks ago about his son, John Jackson III. He bought a mattress and was sleeping in the locker room with a bunch of other Trojans because they wanted 15 more minutes of sleep and they didn't want to be late. That's an example of the team bonding, is that they created this culture of belief, and it was spectacular to watch it unfold this season.
All right, guys, we are joined by our first guest. Let's welcome Tide Guy. Tide Guy, welcome to the show. What did you think of the Heisman tonight?
Hey, guys, I want to congratulate you. It was well-deserved. I think everybody knew going in that Caleb was going to win. And He did. I think the voting was correct. I mean, it was a wide margin. He was by far the best player in football this year.
He had quite a season. And I mean, I don't, you know, Ty, I don't think people appreciate this team was 4-8. They were bad last year.
Well, and not only were they 4-8, but a lot of these players didn't even play with each other last year. So, I mean, you know, it wasn't even like they've been together for 2 or 3 years and clicking. You know, you brought in the quarterback, you brought in the receiver. You know, I mean, these guys weren't used to the linemen. A lot of moving parts this year, and for it to come together as well as it did, that just shows how great of a quarterback he was to make this happen.
And I like the fact that he thanked, Mike Bone, because Mike Bone he's one bad dude. He is, because he took a lot of heat from USC faithful, from alums, from season ticket holders, from donors.
A lot of heat
came on because he didn't fire Clay Helton right off the bat, and he had a plan. He had a vision, along with Brandon Sosna, who's now with the Detroit Lions front office, but to create all the infrastructure that was going to be required when he hired Lincoln Riley or a coach of that ilk. USC was just in shambles in terms of having former athletes kind of masquerade as athletic directors, and Pat Hayden and Lynn Swan. So there wasn't a professional aspect to the athletic department, and he created that in the 18 months, or basically actually the 2 years before he hired Lincoln Riley, and then 7 months later, he saw another opportunity, and he moved USC along with UCLA, who came along with us, to the Big Ten. From a financial standpoint, USC invested in football, and I think you can see the benefits. Look what has happened to the Pac-12 since. And I think USC takes a lot of credit for that, because everybody else has had to step up their game. And credit to the University of Washington, credit to the University of Oregon. Look what Colorado just did, okay? And obviously, Utah has been a very solid program. And it was a fantastic year in the Pac-12. And that increased competition, it helped Caleb focus every week, this team focus every week, because it was a challenging schedule. And the Pac-12 has made a lot of improvements, and there's still room to grow.
And I'd like to say, Rick, that is really important. A lot of people, and I'll use like West Virginia right now. Let's fire Neil Brown. Let's fire Neil Brown. Go ahead and fire your coach. But if you don't have the stuff in place, if this is no longer where a football coach can just come to a team and a football coach can win. You've got to have all the other stuff that a lot of the audience here doesn't understand. I mean, you got to have NIL, you got to have facilities, you've got to have all this other stuff behind the scenes that, people don't think about. And if you don't have that in place, why would Lincoln Riley leave Oklahoma to come to USC if that stuff wasn't in place? You're not going to leave that, So you got to have this all in place for it to work.
Absolutely. And that's what allowed Lincoln Riley to work the transfer portal. That doesn't happen unless you have a number of different support staff that are scouring that transfer portal, scheduling visits, and the staff that he has with Annie Hansen, and how she puts together these amazing visits by recruits, weekends, if you will, and then entertaining transfer portal guests and closing the deal. It's a team effort on so many different levels, and USC just didn't have that infrastructure or that capacity, and so that was created, and everything that happened. And Lincoln Riley wasn't kidding. I mean, after that press conference, he went to work, and he was working 24/7 from that point, through the season. And what's transpired is just amazing. I don't think any Trojan ever even thought this was possible this evening. It was kind of like an idea, but that idea would have been a crazy one 8-4 was my expectation. I think, Tim, what are your thoughts?
Whatever he did, and he being Caleb Williams, to pull this team together from what we saw last year with the pieces that were in place, along with Williams, along with that offensive line. It's a good reason why he brought that offensive line with him. Those guys have been really the shining unit in the past 2 years. And when that unit was healthy, it was a force. Unfortunately, they've been banged up, but that's what made me really come to appreciate Caleb and why he absolutely deserves this award. We talked about this, Rick. We were saying 8-4, not because we didn't think our 22 starters would be able to win double digits, but we know in a football season, usually you're going to lose men, usually on the line, and we are razor thin on the offensive line. And when a couple of guys went down in Las Vegas during the championship game, you really saw just how much Caleb and his ability to move with the ball helped his team to get out of some bad situations throughout the year. And the funny thing is, people talked about how Duggan did a great job of people turned in the vote before this weekend. If anything, that gutty performance he had on that Friday night with a pulled hamstring, and then goes out and throws for a conference championship record 360 plus yards. I'm not sure what some people have some really weird lenses on when they look at USC and they want to look for things against them. There's nothing this kid did all year long that shouldn't have amazed everybody. 8-4 was the original guess, but Caleb Williams, we did have those injuries, Rick, and they did pile up on the offensive line, especially in the middle of the season, towards the end and middle of the season. But Caleb Williams was a difference maker. He willed this team to 11-2, and in the last game he got hurt, or else who knows what would have happened.
Hey guys, I'm going to get out of here. I'm not feeling good, but I just wanted to come in and support you guys and tell you congratulations. Oh,
yeah, I'm surprised you called in, Jeff.
I don't know how Tim did this, but Tim gave me COVID over the internet somehow. He brought it back from Vegas and he shared it with me.
Yeah, you're it. I'm done. You're starting it. So I hope you feel better, man.
But no, I did. I wanted to support your show and tell you guys congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you, Ty Guy.
Hope you feel better.
Thanks.
So, I mean, I guess it's a little dead air, so I'll jump in. And another thing that was really big, I like how he won the room, because there was it was kind of weird, when he got up there and he won the award. It was also, almost, I felt bad for the three guys there. We talked about three great guys, but they were almost being treated through the press, and everyone knows Caleb's going to win, almost as an afterthought. But I really like how he won the room with that little bit of comedy when he said that, about the fact that they're going to be in the playoffs next week, later on in the year, and he won't be. That was something, again, class act, stepped up to make them feel at ease when the award show kind of got a little bit awkward. So I'm really glad he had that opportunity to make those guys feel a little better, because I'm sure there were guys there knowing that they, it's an honor to be there as a finalist, but it was really nice for him to give a tip of the hat to them being in the playoffs.
I thought that was a great line. I love that he said that, and kind of humanize it. And I mean, that's who he is. He is a very humble person, actually, despite what some of the raging Utah fans think. And I thought that was a great hat tip to them. And when he laughed, he said, "Well, you can't win them all."
Yeah, I thought
that was his personality, I thought.
And Caleb wants to be in the playoffs. I mean, he said it. He has that
so badly.
He wanted to be a national champion. He still has that chance. It just didn't happen this year, but that's going to drive him. That's going to drive the team this offseason. I know it. And let's get this out of the way, okay? There's going to be haters out there that are going to talk about him painting his nails. You know what? And the derogatory thing, phrase that was painted on him.
Well, and I mean, other times he's painted his nails with the suicide hotline to help promote the suicide hotline and mental health awareness. Like,
let me tell you something. That word about F UCLA or F Utah, please, if you're going to let that be a hang up and hate on Caleb Williams, you are a small, angry individual. And here's why.
Oh, we have a few of them in the chat tonight.
And here's why. Anybody who's played between the lines in any sport knows that there are much more derogatory and dirty things that are said on the court, on the gridiron, on the wrestling mat. You know, if you're going to let that, you know, Utah fans upset you, please. You know, there's a song that the USC band has, Tusk, and we've been effing UCLA for 50 years, okay? There's T-shirts that are made at schools that have the F word or other things to make fun of their rival. That's what it is. That's what college is about. If you want to get hung up on that and use that to drive another agenda, then, you know, I feel sorry for you. I really do. But sports, people have tattoos. You know, they write, they have wristbands, whatever, to motivate themselves, because part of sports is not only being physically ready, but you have to have the mental headspace. You have to be ready to go out there to war on the football field and get yourself jacked up. All right. And so if that is troublesome to you, I'm sorry. Really, I'm sorry. Okay. That's what it's about. You know, it's about getting an edge on your competitor. This is not about having a loaded Glock in your glove box. Okay. Now that's an issue. Painting your nails. Come on. Big deal.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's weird because there were two social media stories going around. There were his fingernails and the fact that he invited Caleb found out for the Utah game back in the first game in Salt Lake City, found out that the father of two kids had passed away. And then what they did is they did go to games. And he not only made sure they were there, he took pictures of them. There's a great picture of him and the two sons. I think they're like in their early teens. And they're wearing Utah sweatshirts. He's got his arms around them. Beautiful picture and stuff. But you can see it right now, even in the chat. You can see the people that genuinely love college football and are acknowledging greatness. And then you see the pettiness in some people that want to look at fingernails and little comments instead of looking at what the man did on the field. But if we want to talk about his fingernails, let's also talk about the fact that he does work for anti-bullying campaigns, that he's helping out people left, right, and center. And he didn't publicize any of this. But in the world we live in, there are just small people. Some of them are representing their universities really poorly in the chat right now. And then there's other ones that show up and say, wow, that guy had a great season. Congratulations to him. Congratulations to the Trojans. You know, that's what we have in our society. It's just, what do you want to look at? Do you want to focus in on the little stuff and the petty stuff? Or do you want to look at greatness? That's your choice. And how you behave, that's up to you as well.
Yeah, 47 touchdowns. Amazing. 37 in the air, 10 on the ground, over 4,700 total yards with what, three or four interceptions?
4 interceptions. These are all records. I'm not sure if you guys are aware of this in the chat, but USC's had some pretty good quarterbacks over the years. And this guy broke all of their records and did it with a flair. Did it with a flair that I've never seen. We've been talking about this, a guy that could actually make plays with his feet for the better part of, I don't know, 30 years. And now finally we have this guy. He's the whole package. And he put us over the top as far as Heisman trophies at 8. And there's a big gridlock right now at 8 number 1 overall draft picks in the NFL that USC is currently tied with teams like Georgia. I think Notre Dame and a couple others all have 5 number 1 overalls.
I think so.
This guy next year is going to be your number 1 overall pick if he stays healthy. So that'll be one more thing he breaks for USC in the ties. So I'm really looking forward to a great season. I'm proud of him. I'm proud of all these guys. I'm a big Duggan fan. I mean, look at Duggan and Stetson Bennett.
Duggan's an awesome guy too.
Duggan and Stetson Bennett have been through so much, been told, you know, that they're backups, that they're walk-ons, they got to go to junior college, you know, and they don't give up. The stories that the parents were taught, it was just an amazing. I love the way the show went, and they really did focus in on how these dudes. It's amazing these dudes are even there, and they're playing for a national championship at the end of the year. But people want to focus on fingernails. You let me know what's important in life.
You know, one of the cool.
And I love this from Z Thief. Right, you don't have to be a perfect human to win the Heisman. If you did, no one would win.
One of the things
that's really well done there.
One of the things,
like we said at the beginning of the show, though, all 4 of these are really, really exceptional young men. You know, there's no Lawrence Phillips in this bunch.
No, they're awesome guys, all of them, and I can't wait to watch TCU go against Michigan, Duggan versus JJ McCarthy. That's going to be epic, and then you have Stetson Bennett going against CJ Stroud. So I can't wait for that. It's going to be an incredible playoff. One of the things I like about the Heisman Trophy too is just the history, seeing who's going to show up on the stage, and the interesting trends as the game has changed. Just to share with some of our viewers here, since 2000, there's been 18 quarterbacks that have won. Now tonight, make it 19. 3 running backs and 1 wide receiver. That is crazy because the running back used to be the focal point of Heisman Trophy winners. And I'm going to flash you back. If you take a look at 1960 to 79, that 20 years, there were 12 running backs / halfbacks and 8 quarterbacks. So still running back dominant. 1980 to 1999, another 20-year swath of time. You had 10 running backs, 7 quarterbacks, 2 wide receivers, and you had that guy, Charles Woodson, the cornerback, right? From 72 to 83, some damn good years. You had 12 running backs in a row that won the Heisman. Names like Johnny Rodgers, John Cappelletti, Archie Griffin, Tony Dorsett, Earl Campbell, Billy Sims, Charlie White, George Rogers, Marcus Allen, Herschel Walker, and Mike Rozier. That was all those names are just epic. A lot of those guys were there tonight. So the game has changed, it's evolved, and now it's quarterback driven.
Now, looking forward, what do you guys think? What do you think the impact of this is going to be for USC? I mean, the more I think about it, and I thought about it beforehand, but watching the ceremony tonight, I mean, this is as good as you can get for recruiting.
Yeah, a lot of people, and there were a couple of people in the chat saying that the award has lost its luster. That's not that important. I don't really know what they're trying to.
They all seem to be Ohio State fans. There seem to be a lot of very grumpy Ohio State fans tonight.
I don't know. It was an LSU fan. I just don't understand where you're coming from because there were a lot of young high school players. You heard all these guys talk about what did they say? Kind of common theme. They all thought about Heisman Trophy, and every little kid, even if you don't have a path to the Heisman Trophy, you're striking the pose. You're playing in your backyard or in the street, right? Thinking about one day winning a Heisman Trophy. These guys, a lot of these young kids growing up just watched Caleb Williams win the Heisman Trophy. And I'm going to tell you, if you are a quarterback and you're watching this and you saw the relationship, you saw the look, the sincerity and the emotion in both Riley and Caleb's face, there's a connection there. You cannot sell that. They just saw that on national television. And the fact that Riley has had 3 of his quarterbacks have been 3 of the last 6 Heisman Trophy winners. That in itself tells you, hey, look, do you want to go? You want to be out playing the biggest stage? Do you want to do this yourself? Come here, I'll show you how to do it. And one of them, he had a finalist also. So I mean, it's not a situation where you have a coach making promises. This was one gigantic 1-hour infomercial for USC football, and I, for one, am ecstatic. And I remember a long time ago when how do you feel, Pete? And Pete would always say, "Hey man, we're just getting started." He would always say that. You win a Heisman, we're just getting started. You win the national championship, we're just getting started. And after a 4-8 year, and now 11-2 and a Heisman Trophy, we're just getting started. I can't wait for the future of SC football.
And Tim, you were talking about this earlier, and the more I think about this, the more just absolutely bananas this is. Lincoln Riley's been a head coach for 6 years.
Yeah,
3 Heismans.
Pretty good.
3 Heismans in 6 years.
I don't think it's asinine. The Heisman Trophy is, the best. It's the best award in college athletics. It's one of the most recognizable. It's not losing its luster. It is in your mind, in your small mind, if you say that. But I want to make a toast to because I think the night was remarkable. I want to make a toast to Mike and Marilyn Riley. Okay, you have your two sons on stage coaching Heisman Trophy finalists at TCU,
Not bad.
at TCU and USC. How much better can that get with Max Duggan and Caleb Williams? I mean, it's ridiculous. How is that losing its luster? I think that might be the first time that's ever happened. You have two brothers that are directly responsible for two Heisman finalists. If I'm wrong and that's happened before, please put it in the chat. But I don't
how cool was the picture of Max and Caleb together with the trophy with both Riley families on either side of them? I thought that was awesome.
It's fantastic.
Hey guys, we've got Danny joining us. Danny, welcome to the show. Oh, Danny, can you hear us? Danny there? Danny in 3, 2, 1. All right, Danny. We tried. That was fun. We would love to hear from you guys. Any of our USC folks or other folks who want to talk about the game going on, we'd love to hear from you guys. I don't know if somebody could put the link in the chat real quick. I love this USC Football for Life. Malachi Nelson, next USC Heisman.
Hey, why not?
Well, and did you guys see the picture this morning of all the Heisman quarterbacks, the USC Heisman quarterbacks at breakfast together? I thought that was cool. Of the three of them. Although Bone was like at a table by himself, like in the back corner of the picture. Everybody was laughing about it.
Hey, Tony, love your edit that you've been sharing on Twitter. It looks fantastic.
Which one? The stadium one?
Yes. And so, God willing, if that's going to happen and it's going to be announced at a game, Tony, I'm extending the invitation. I want you to fly out.
I'll fly out for that.
This is LBC and I. You will be our guest for that game. All right?
Oh, how can I turn down Mrs. LBC?
You got to make it happen, man. You got to make it happen, and we will drink arrogant bastards.
I like it. Speaking of non-arrogant non-bastards,
Ian from Akron. Hold on a second. Ian from Akron. Jimbo Fisher. Wait, am I getting this right? Jimbo Fisher better than Lincoln Riley.
Is that that's a troll?
Yeah.
I think he's joking.
Yeah, that's a joke.
Yeah. Because it's just really amazing. Someone hopefully would not say that out loud.
Yeah, no, I think he's joking.
Wow.
John, welcome.
Hi, everybody. Congrats to Caleb and to Lincoln Riley for the third out of the last 6 years that his quarterback got to the Heisman Trophy, won the Heisman Trophy, and we can't forget about Jalen Hurts, runner-up. So that's another one. So it's extremely impressive, to say the least, what he's been able to do with the quarterback coaching the last 6-7 years. I mean, and now he can then use that on the recruiting pitch. So when he's out recruiting his quarterbacks and elsewhere, hey, look, I got this guy first round in the draft pick, and he got a $20 million signing bonus. And by the way, 3 Heismans. So what kind of impact does that have when you're recruiting you're in these high school families' homes, these players?
Well, yeah. and I couldn't get over what I think is huge is the impact on the importance of the line and the importance of the team to have all those guys there at the Heisman ceremony.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And I'm sure that now that he's done that for the future, like that will become a thing. But it certainly said a lot that he did it and no one else did.
Well, how many of real quick, how many of them are coming back, the O linemen, next year?
They lose 2.
Okay. So the ones who are coming back are going to block that much harder because they just got recognized and invited
3.
to New York City.
Sorry, these 3. Left guard, left tackle, and center. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean, amazing. And actually, the recruiting pitch, if you will, started Thursday night. How about Baker Mayfield getting cut by the Carolina Panthers? He gets signed with the Rams, playing at SoFi, drops a dime to Van Jefferson. Okay, they were down by 2 touchdowns, and they win. Okay, so there you go. There's Baker Mayfield with the Rams, throwing a touchdown on Thursday night. There you go. So he's in LA
practice.
with Lincoln Riley. Can't
make practice.
Exactly. There you go.
And hey guys, real quick, we're being joined by Danny's back, I think. Danny, welcome to the show.
Oh no.
Guess not. All right. Sorry. Go on, John.
Baker's. I'm just reading some of the ridiculousness. Baker, I think, is earning himself another starting opportunity next year if he continues to play like this, and he has an opportunity to do so. All
right, I think we got Danny. Danny, can you hear us? Welcome to the show.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, fight on, Danny.
Fight on, Danny.
Guys. I'm looking forward to next season.
You should.
Yeah,
we got him again.
I have there's a song that comes to mind. We've only just begun.
That's fitting.
There you go, my friend. Good one.
So we've only just begun this year. So I'm looking forward to next season again.
Well, and I thought that was one of the great things Caleb pointed out, is he said we have unfinished business. They want to be back in the playoffs next year.
Yeah. Next thing they'll do is they're going to build that depth. As you saw, we were a little bit thin, but they have the talent there. And if you're going to build around somebody, you want to build around a guy like Caleb Williams.
Yes, I agree.
Next thing they'll do is they're going to build that depth. As you saw. Gixxer Squid.
And we've also got Gixxer Squid joining us. Gixxer, welcome.
Hey, how are you? Can you hear me well?
Yes.
Loud and clear.
Perfect.
What'd you think of the night tonight?
Man, what a wonderful night. I hope before every game they do 8 seconds of silence just to poke it to them. But
yeah. Or ring the victory bell 8 times for that. Just ring the victory bell 8 times.
Yeah.
For the game.
And one of the things I find really unique.
I like that, Tim. I like that idea.
One of the things I find really unique about this particular Heisman ceremony, and not just Caleb Williams, is the fact that Caleb went out on faith, left Oklahoma, followed his coach, didn't know who he was throwing the ball to, was depending upon the transfer portal, and there was just so much unknown. And the fact that he persevered and that kind of came to fruition, to me, was just kind of a beautiful poetic piece to this whole story. Because quite frankly, the other candidates that were up there respectfully didn't go through that much turbulence as Caleb did.
No. Yeah. I do think there's a lot of shout out to Stetson Bennett, who's been crapped on, for a lot of his time. And I thought he got to be, and for Max Duggan for sticking it out too. But you're right. The adversity for Caleb, there was a lot of adversity. And the other thing is they were turning around a 4-8 team.
Yeah.
And it was a bad 4-8 team too.
Hats off to Max Duggan. I mean,
absolutely.
First year head coach Sonny Dykes. They were picked 7th to win in the Big 12. So they weren't a preseason favorite, not in anywhere. And they were getting the group of 5 kind of treatment. Everybody poking at their schedule because they were the one in the room. Like if everybody's looking, if you're not the mark, well, guess what? You are the mark. And everybody's trying to escort TCU out of the playoff. And that's how it is, because that's what college football does. In terms of if you're if you're the team or you're not the team. And I love that TCU team. I've got friends that got kids at TCU, and that's going to be a great game going against Michigan. And
yeah, it is.
Because both of those teams are second half teams, and they do not quit. And both of their quarterbacks have swagger, man.
Heck yeah.
AJ McCarthy.
It's going to be a game.
I can't wait to see that. And then, you got CJ Stroud, a local boy from Rancho Cucamonga. Okay. And he's going to go against Georgia. Now, Kirby Smart's going to have a month to prepare. But let me talk to the people in the chat out there. Did I get this wrong? But did an SEC team that was a defending national champion give up 500 yards in the SEC championship game? Just 500 yards passing, not total, but passing. And the combined score was 50-30. 80 total points was the highest point total of all Pac-5 or Power 5 championships. I thought they played defense in the SEC. What the heck happened? You have a backup quarterback from LSU, and you had a former Pac-12 quarterback that was too small and got hurt, and you gave up 500 yards? Oh, ridiculous. Glad I didn't see it on national TV.
Yeah, if we're gonna do a quick preview, I'll throw 2 cents in as well. If they give CJ Stroud any time at all to throw the ball, the way that it's gonna be an interesting game. I mean, I guess you can't. They're an amazing team, but if that's their hole, if that's their weakness, this is not the team they want to have a weakness in the secondary.
No,
and if they can get them, the big question mark will be can they give CJ Stroud? If not, he is going to slice and dice that secondary. So I can't wait to see a great game. It'll be a good game.
Because
and we want to thank you to Sergeant Pickles for the super chat. We really appreciate that. That helps support the channel. Thank you. He laughs. He says, as if FC needs more things to brag about. Congrats, Caleb Welzer.
Thanks,
Sergeant
Sergeant Pickles.
I agree with you. Michael Penix, fantastic season. There was a lot of people this season. Michael Penix, Blake Corum. I really think that there were a bunch of guys that I think they probably could have had more people there. I mean, I think the 4 guys that were there are special and amazing and phenomenal leaders who have made just phenomenal contributions to their teams. All 4 of them. That's why I said at the beginning, none of those guys, there's nobody, I have some people in chat, oh, this guy sucks. Like, no, those guys were all awesome. But there were some other just phenomenal guys. Well, Hendon Hooker, had a phenomenal season. Phenomenally talented.
And he was the fan vote. He got the fan vote.
Okay. If you're just going to put something out to fans, are we going to be surprised that Tennessee found a way to win?
Nah, not at all.
I mean, yeah, they're like, and the fan vote was sprayed with mustard too. Who knew? I'm just teasing Big Orange. I love you guys. I'm just teasing Big Orange.
I love the fact that
Penix
is coming back.
Yeah. And by the way, I also almost think that like in a special category, the Michigan offensive line should have been there, like just as a whole.
Absolutely.
I think
co-sign that.
Michigan's the only team to lose a Heisman candidate running back and get more yards.
Oh, you're picking a fight. I can tell. I can't see the chat, but I can only get an idea of what it looks like. Real quick, and then I'm going to hop off. I think LBC mentioned it right before I hopped on because I missed a little bit. Tonight was the night where the warning was the shot was made. USC's back. I mean, the stage is there, whether it's the transfer portal, whether it's NIL, whether it's, conversations about the Pac-12 and the move to the Big Ten. It doesn't matter. People are going to want to play here. I think they're going to brands and companies are going to want to tie themselves in. I think that comment about Mike Bohn at the beginning solidified all the decisions he's made recently. That's been a little bit controversial. I think tonight was really just an opening and a warning because I quite frankly would not want to play against USC after that speech with Caleb coming back.
Well, and Gixer, tell me, I'm not a designer by any stretch of the imagination, but I see 4 more openings in the Coliseum.
Well, I see 4 other people besides me here, so I think we can whip something up late at night.
Yeah, I mean there could be more. And there's Malachi. There's who knows what we'll see next.
Yeah. Hey, wonderful show. I'm gonna hop off.
Hey, thanks, Gixer. We appreciate it. Thanks always for joining us.
Thanks, Gixer.
That was Gixer Squid live from LA.
Hey guys, I got a question for the for all you the USC fans in the panel from a non-USC person. So there's definitely some discussion of the 8 Heismans. There's some discussion, and there's been back and forth in the chat all night When do you think that the process will be in place to give Reggie Bush finally back the Heisman he deserves?
I'll tell you, I think they do it softly. I mean, you've seen very clear steps through ever since the Alston decision and the wording of the Kavanaugh concurrence. You have immediately seen and we're not like, the bilateral commission of the, no, like this isn't like tinfoil hat conspiracy stuff. But ever since that Kavanaugh concurrence came, which really ended the legal status by which the NCAA had penalized Reggie Bush. The issue with Reggie Bush is that he, because the NCAA ruled him ineligible during that season, the 12 years ago Heisman Trust then vacated the trophy. I mean, he still won it, but they vacated that at the time. The NCAA versus Alston decision, and especially the Kavanaugh concurrence that goes with it, basically says that the NCAA was wrong to do that, that the antitrust laws and constitutional protections really afforded Reggie Bush the right to absolutely do everything he did and then some. And as a result, the Heisman Trust really is on really weak standing. And so what we've seen in the past 2 years is they have, without like physically putting his Heisman back out, they have in a lot of very soft ways continued to like say USC at 7. You've seen it on TV. And so tonight, when we saw Chris Fowler, 3 times, I think it was three times
Yep.
in the discussion, again, he's sitting there with, the chairman of the Heisman Trust right next to him. And he's saying, hey, this is clear text, guys, that went through the Heisman Trust. They are, I mean, first of all, Reggie did win. Second of all, they are making it very clear that they're counting it as 8. I would think at some point that they will like very subtly just like return it to him or something.
Well, there's another.
I have a shorter answer. He'll have it next year.
Okay.
Well, there's another.
I think they're saying the stage Bone's already been on record saying that he said, quote unquote, we are working on it. So to me, along with the very excellent detailed explanation on the legality of and the issues they might have going on the road, trying to cause problems for Reggie Bush. I think that that's slowly, and also the fact that the NCAA is losing all of its teeth, like literally,
Right.
It's like gnawing on like a little
in the NIL world.
Old guy tried to chew on some corn with no teeth. That's what it starts to look like these days. We'll see what happens with ASU as well, but it doesn't really look like they have any strength at all. And with NIL and what kids are making now compared to Reggie Bush's family living in a rent-free house in San Diego,
which
was
by the way, the money was being loaned to them too by a marketing agent. It didn't even come from the school, and it wasn't even a gift. It was a loan from a marketing agent. I mean,
which were all illegal back then. So there's a legality issue that was against the rules. But the big point is I would love to see, again, when you have money being funneled through churches, etc., it just seems so hypocritical to take one guy's trophy away when really a lot of those guys have money. I don't want to go back. This is not Reggie Bush's night. This is
we're not talking about Reggie Bush. Sorry.
But the short answer is next year.
Yeah.
And John,
curious.
I think that they return with what the school's been saying. I think they return the number 5 jersey immediately. LVC's pointing at it. I like it.
Yeah. And I'll just end it with this. Remember when Oklahoma and Texas, I believe it was the end of July 2021, they bolted, the announcement was made they're going to the SEC. Well, the NCAA, in all of its beautiful wisdom, their tail got tucked between their legs, and they buried it on a Monday. I believe it was a Monday. But they lost a lawsuit that was in the works for 8 years. Todd McNair, who was the USC running backs coach, fought for his name because they tried pinning the Reggie Bush situation on Todd McNair because there was no evidence to Reggie Bush, to Pete Carroll or the school. So they tried pinning it on Todd McNair, and he fought for his name. And he settled out, the NCAA settled out of court with him for $8 million. And that got buried. So there you go. Todd McNair then was hired by Bruce Arians, and he was the running backs coach for Tampa Bay for the Super Bowl team. But he could not have a job. He was ostracized and blackballed in the football community, and that guy fought on. And he said, F you, NCAA. And the NCAA buried that story. So that basically, they're done. They gave up. They quit. There was no connection. So just a little for those people in the chat. Again, it's Williams' night, but everything is moving forward. The fact that Chris Fowler mentioned that on the show is ridiculous. So it's a matter of time.
Yeah, the kid linchpin for the NCAA investigation received an $8 million NDA is what he got. So that's really all you need to know about that whole situation.
There's a question in the chat. Is Caleb playing in the Cotton Bowl?
He says he is.
Yeah.
If he does, it'll be a miracle. I think
it would be very cool, but
at least he wasn't limping on the stage tonight.
Oh,
unless they were doing some. Although, in all fairness, they could have been doing some FDR stuff that we just didn't see behind the scenes. Wait, was he? Did he have his arm wrapped around his older son? No. Okay, maybe it wasn't FDR stuff. Sorry,
absolutely. All right, guys, I'm gonna let y'all go, but great show tonight.
Thank you. Well, thanks for joining us, and thank you to everybody in the chat and everybody watching tonight. We appreciate it. We're glad to have you guys because this is there's not an actual game, but this is arguably more of a celebration than our regular post-game shows.
Absolutely. Thanks everybody for coming on the chat, and obviously join the Patreon. Don't forget that. $5. Come on down. Patreon.com. MarkRogersTV. Night, y'all.
Absolutely.
Night, John.
Oh, we got real big all of a sudden. Sorry about that, guys. Yeah, Alan points out. Yeah, I mean Miller. For those of you guys, folks wondering, is first of all, it's me just asking: is Caleb going? Caleb is not going pro. He cannot yet. He is too young for the NFL draft. So that you don't have to worry about that, which is kind of nice.
Think about all the great quarterbacks. Think about all the great quarterbacks going to be playing in the Pac-12 next year. You got
many.
You got Michael Penix. You got obviously Caleb. I think Bo Nix. We're waiting to hear from him, but I think Bo Nix is going to be back. That's 3. You got Jaden DeLora. That's 4. With Arizona. You have Prime.
Jadon Sanders.
You got Prime son, right? Who else am I missing here? UCLA. I know that they're kind of flirting with Dante Moore right now. He's on a visit this weekend, which is Oregon fans. You should be panicked. Dante Moore, he's a 5-star recruit from Detroit, Michigan, and he was all but signed and delivered to Oregon. And Chip Kelly doing a little magic. If you remember, Chip Kelly was up at Oregon when he took a recruit from USC.
Well, and not only that, but I think, and I've said this from the beginning with Dante Moore. Dante Moore is a Michigan kid. He's from Michigan, and UCLA's on their way to the Big Ten.
Great point, Tony. Great point.
That it would not. I mean, obviously, Oregon is Oregon, and I'm not ripping on Oregon, but just I really think that has a lot of potential there. And the Beavs will have somebody. The Beavs are going to go get a quarterback. We know that. And,
Washington State has Cam Ward. And you have Kenny Dillingham at ASU. He's going to find his quarterback. I mean, he just did a great job with Bo Nix. And I'm sure they, DJ, the transfer from Clemson.
Yeah.
He was visiting. And that Kenny Dillingham's going to find himself a quarterback. And then you got Jonathan Smith up at Oregon State. They are just a quarterback away from competing for a spot in the Pac-12 championship next year. They've got
believe it or not, Cam Rising has more eligibility. He might be back next. I think Larry said he might be back next year. I don't remember.
I think Cam Rising back too. So it's
so he's at the top there as well.
Yep. And
he's still older than DTR, isn't he?
Might be.
Hey man,
be right there with him.
You know what's going to be fantastic? This is the last year next year for USC, and all that hate. Oh, bring it on, man! Bring it on. That means we're back.
We love the Utah fans, and the Utah fans are full of rage this week. I'm like, Utah, you won the conference. You're off to the Rose Bowl, Utah. You don't have to keep like all of this like pent up like fingernail rage from Utah. I'm like, guys, look at the trophy and just let it sparkle. Let it sparkles like, dry out your fingernail rage.
Do you want me to give you a little reason why Utah is the way they are? Do you want a little bit of history from LBC?
Is it because they're too close to the biggest whiners in the entire world of college football and it rubs off on them a little sometimes?
Well, BYU is their daddy. Okay, they were both in the WAC. They were both in the Mountain West.
Don't go there.
No, don't go there. Okay, hold on. If you try to dunk on Utah with BYU, then they're all going to hate us. I can't. They're going to.
All I'm saying is, Utah for national respect. They are, but you know what? They're not even the best team in their own state. So,
okay, that is not true. I'm standing up for the Utes, LBC.
Hey, like Mark Rogers says, I'm just looking at facts, not emotion, not feelings. I'm just telling you how many conference championships those guys have won. Each of those teams have won. In the WAC, Utah has won 2. They won 2 when they were in the WAC. Okay, BYU won 19. All right. When they were in the Mountain West, Utah won 4. BYU won 4. But they both had shared conference championships when they're in the Mountain West. Okay. Now Utah has kind of kept on progressing, and this is the amazing thing, and this is what a lot of new Utah fans don't understand. Kyle Whittingham is a G. He is the best coach, obviously, in Utah history. They went from Ron McBride, and Urban Meyer was there for a cup of coffee for 2 years, and then he went to Florida, right? And then they got Kyle Whittingham. He is a loyal, hardworking. He is the salt of the earth, great coach. And he built this program. He got them from the Mountain West to the Pac-12. Hey, and they won back-to-back Pac-12 championships. I am not denying them anything.
They're great this year.
But they want respect on a national level. That is earned. Part of it is you have to compete against the best. And they went down to Florida, and I'm sure there's people in the chat they'll tell you, yeah, Florida was the 11th best team in the SEC. So you go down with Cam Rising after coming off of a Rose Bowl loss to Ohio State. So there's a check mark. That's an X. And then you're a preseason top 10, and you go down to Florida to a average Florida team, and you lose on an interception with your great quarterback. You know what? The reason why you don't get respect, Utah, is because you haven't played big-time competition. You've never played in your history Auburn, Georgia, Arkansas, Michigan State, Penn State, Miami, Florida State, Clemson, Virginia Tech. Okay, how can you be a national brand when nobody's even played you? Those teams have not played you. Okay, that's what I'm saying. Take a step at a time. You have to you have to win this Rose Bowl. You've never played Penn State before. Now you are in the Rose Bowl against James Franklin, who lost to Clay Helton 6 years ago. You lose this game, guess what they're going to do? There you're in the who you are.
Utah, I believe in you. You fans, I believe in you.
You do make a good point, LBC. Utah has been pretty much the class of the Pac-12 last couple of years, but they need to go to that next level, and they do need. I mean, you do need to win, a Rose Bowl or something like a big bowl or a big game. It did hurt. It really did hurt the conference with them going to. Going out to Georgia going to Florida and laying an egg. That really set the narrative against the Pac-12. So they have a redemption game. They have it in the Rose Bowl, and I believe in the Utes. I think they get it done. And I think there's 2 types of Utes, you guys. Let's not judge Utah on the Twitter Ute or the Twit Ute, as we probably call them.
Yeah, exactly. I like that phrase. That's a great phrase, Tim.
I met a ton of beautiful, wonderful Utah fans at that game. And quite frankly, every interaction I've ever had, I remember going way back to the Las Vegas Bowl in 2001.
Utah fans are awesome.
Yeah, their fans are awesome. Yeah, I think these might be actually these Ute twits. They might actually be BYU fans with dummy accounts. Yeah, it just is this
totally be
that level.
That would be a very BYU thing to do too.
I just don't want to believe that the Utes are that petty, because none of them that I've ever met in person even come close to being that childish. So that's my 2 cents.
No, they're mostly awesome fans.
And here's the thing: is Kyle Whittingham's been their coach for 18 years, and I don't know how many more years he's going to coach. But the true test is who's going to be your next coach, and what is that transition going to look like? We hope for the Utes it keeps on going like this, but Kyle Whittingham has been amazing. All right. And it's not going to be like that all the time. Look at programs that have lost their coach. I mean, look at Miami. Miami's been trying to get back for so long. It's not easy winning a Rose Bowl. It is not. UCLA hasn't won one since 1986. Okay. So right now, Utah, this is your time, because if Kyle Whittingham, let's say, retires in 2 years, you may never win a Rose Bowl, or not never, but it might take several more years. So the iron is hot. They got to do it.
Now, to be fair to UCLA, there's a lot of schools out there that haven't won a Rose Bowl since 86 or farther back. But this is a Utes chance to do it. You know what I mean? You guys step up and make us proud, and I think you will. I hope you will.
I'm just kind of like motivating the Utes. That's all.
I know you are.
I'm challenging them.
And Utes, I'm on your side. Remember, Utes, I picked you to win.
James Franklin, you got this in the bag.
You guys got this. You guys can beat Penn State.
You got to do a makeup. You got to do a makeup for letting the Pac-12 down when you went down to Florida. All right?
That's right. This is your makeup win. This is your makeup win.
You can't depend on USC all the time to win these big national games. We can't do it all the time. You kicked our ass.
Our defense.
You happy you kicked our ass?
Yeah. So and sometimes these winning these games involve tackling, and we're not there yet. We got half the ball fixed. Now we're working on the other half, and we got Tackett Curtis on the way to get it done.
Oh, Tackett Curtis! Thank God.
Thank God. Did he win today? By the way, he was playing for the state championship today.
They did win.
They did win.
I think he ran 80 yards for a touchdown.
Oh, he's so good.
Playing running back too. That guy in the Superdome.
He's the new Cushing.
Showing out in New Orleans, down in the bayou. We got a boy from Louisiana. How about that, LSU fans? We got one of your boys. Coop, coop, coop.
I love it.
Oh,
all right, guys. Well, hey, we got to go. We got TF in a little bit. Should we get ready to wrap up here?
Sure.
All right. Who wants to start with some final thoughts on USC seals in their 8th Heisman Trophy?
Hey, congrats to Caleb Williams, to Mike Bone, to Lincoln Riley, all the support staff, Katie Ryan, Annie Hansen, Carol Folt, the Board of Trustees. This was a true team effort, because nobody in their right mind thought that the next Heisman Trophy winner for 2022 was going to come from USC. There was no way. But as you heard tonight, Caleb Williams had a plan since he was 10, and he was too small to play in a championship game. And you know what? I'll tell you, I'll be honest with you. I cried at that point watching, because I was told that I was too small to play high school basketball. And I said, what the heck? And I'm gonna give a shout out to a guy that changed my life. His name is Cliff Jarmy, and he's a very smart guy. I'm a proud Hawk from Laguna Hills High School, South Orange County. And he knew when the players were going to get cut in summer basketball, and I got cut. And I was pissed. And Cliff Jarmy saw me, and he said, hey, do you want to come out for wrestling? And I said, what's that? He says, hey, you could beat up on kids and not get in trouble. So this 5'6", 88-pound kid said, sign me up. And I couldn't wrestle the first year because I was 10 pounds under the 98 weight limit for the lightest weight class. But that drove me. and he was a great coach. And I owe everything, all my success in life, to that coach and that program. I was very fortunate to be successful and to win a couple league championships, make CIF for a guy who didn't even make weight the first year, because I wouldn't be denied, because I was in an environment and there was a culture there. And this guy drove me. And I was told no, and that you weren't good enough. And that's what Caleb did. That's what all these Heisman candidates did today. If you want to be a success in life, it's up to you. People will tell you you can't do this. You're too small. Your family doesn't come from money. You're too brown. You're too black, whatever. Don't believe in it. Believe in yourself, set a goal, and work for it. And you know what? Always fight on. Good night.
Fight on, LBC.
I just want to keep it short and sweet. And the fact that this was, there was a lot of talk about who deserved to be the Heisman Trophy winner. I think the numbers speak for themselves, right? 544 first place votes to 188 for Duggan, and then Stroud and Bennett 37 and 36. It was a landslide for Caleb Williams in a season he really did deserve. A lot of people question. I've heard some really strange comments about faking injuries, doing this, fingernails, everything. But you know what? This kid, he's balling out. He carried his team on their back and almost carried a very, very questionable defense to a playoff berth. So really happy, really spoiled to have Caleb Williams and Lincoln Riley at USC. It's in the immortal words of Pete Carroll, you know, we're just getting started. So fight on, guys. Trojans out there, be proud, be loud, enjoy today, because this one's for us. Thank you, Riley. Thank you, Bone.
Thanks, Tim. Hey, I want to, first of all, to all of you guys tonight in the chat that joined us, all the Trojan alums, Trojan fans, everybody, thank you so much. It was great to have you guys. Thank you to the folks that called in. We love having you guys. Thanks to Mark, who was joining in. But I want to just once again salute all four of these nominees tonight. We're so excited for Caleb, and we've been talking about that, and this is the USC show. So that's what we do. But all four of the Heisman Trophy finalists were exceptional young men, exceptional leaders, great students, great models for the game, and great role models for kids. They all do tremendous amounts in the community and are really good people. And they come from coaches that worked hard, and every one of them has a story that should be a model for all of us. And again, I love Max, love Stetson, love CJ, and, you know, Caleb still wins my heart, and I'm, you know, proud of everything for USC. But just let's remember, you know, for anybody who you know thinks, oh, I like so and so better, all four of these guys were just exceptional candidates. But there was another game today, also played by two teams of exceptional candidates. And if you guys didn't see the Army-Navy game, you missed out, because it went to double overtime. And the heart and the passion and everything that went into that game, that does not have all the NIL money. It doesn't have big money. Those guys are going to go off and be helicopter pilots and, you know, nuclear systems officers on submarines and fighter pilots and tank captains, and they're not going to the NFL. And that game today was also one of the most purest, amazing displays of college football I'd seen in a long time. And, you know, sometimes when we get caught up too much in the money and all the shenanigans and the big market stuff, I think we need to watch those guys. When I was in Afghanistan, we worked very closely with lots of guys from West Point and lots of guys from Annapolis. And they're you know, as wonderful as these four guys are tonight, there's nobody better than the guys from West Point or Annapolis. So way to go, Army. Good luck next year, Navy. And as always, fight on, Trojans. Thanks for joining us, everybody.